Hello everybody, this is the video tutorial for the 7311 REV A CAM for the pivot arm. Hey, we're going to start off by modeling our stock like we've done in the past. So we're going to go to sketch, and we're going to sketch on what is going to be our op1 facing up. So we're going to pick on that top surface. And we're going to draw a rectangle. And our stock size we're going to set as 6.6 long by 1.25 thick. That's the bar size we're going to use. We're going to take and draw a line from corner to corner on the stock itself. And then we're going to draw a line from a line horizontal, and we're going to align that line to the center of the circle there. Aligned the silhouette of the part to one edge, and then the other end point to the silhouette of the right side of the part. Okay. And then we're going to left click on that line, we're going to right click on it, we're going to make a construction, and we're going to do the same thing with the diagonal one. This will allow us to go midpoint to midpoint, and it'll center our stock around our piece. Okay, we're going to hit finish sketch. We're going to go ahead and look at this in a 3D view. And the thickness of our material is 1 inch. So we're going to do an extruded body, and we're going to select our box, and we're going to need to select every zone within that. And we're going to go in the one direction, 0.04, and in the opposite direction, we want to select two sides. In our opposite direction, we're going to go 0.96. Alright, and it's going to default to a cut because it senses it's going through the material. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new body instead. And we don't want it to join to the original. So if we add 0.04 to 0.96, it should be a total of 1 inch thick. And we're going to hit OK. Now we're going to expand our bodies, and we have two. So one is the stock we just made, and one is the actual part. So let's name the one that's the actual part 7311 so we can differentiate them. And body 2 we're going to change to stock. Right click on the stock in the tree, and then we'll be able to go to opacity control and make it 50% opaque so we can see through it and see our stock volume inside. Okay, so we have our stock set up for this. Now we can set up our vise setups. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate our block this way. It's convenient to have our origin over on the left hand side. So we're going to have it a little bit opposite of what the actual drawing is, and then we're going to bring in a vise. So you should have a vise you can download. Might not be the same version as what I'm using in this video, but use what's given to you in the assignment. So I have the Sierra College generic vise, and we're going to start off with 1 5/8 parallels, which is the standard ones at the machine. And we need to orientate the vise to match how we're looking at it on the machine. Okay, so looks like we're going to need to rotate this thing 180 degrees one way, and then we need to lay it down 90, and then we can grab onto the little dot, grab it below, and that's about how we should have it lined up. And we're going to hit OK, and this first one is probably going to be grounded. That's what the little anchor symbol is on the icon. We're going to unground it from parent. And now we're going to align our stock with the vise for the first operation. So to do that, we're going to go to Assemble, and we're going to use a joint. And we're going to pick the top left corner of the parallel and make sure that the disc is in the same plane as our parallel. And then our second selection, we're going to pick on the bottom of the part in that same corner. And that should line our part up. Now, you don't have to set it up this way in the mill. This is just representative. You might want to center it in the vise. Also, on the machines that don't have a lot of room, you might have trouble fitting the 4th or 5 axis on the right. Okay, so we're going to hit OK on that, and that's our first operation, and we're going to set the throat of the vise at 1.25, which is the thickness of the bar we're using. Okay, now our second operation, we're going to flip it over, but we want to sink it into the vise farther because we need to grab onto this flat here. So we're going to go and make the current vise invisible. And if we were to flip the part like so, and we're going to be grabbing onto the actual model instead of the stock. So I'm going to hide the stock for now, and we'll bring in a second instance of the vise, 1 3/8. So we need to lay the vise down 90, or rotate it 180. Move it down and below. And we're going to go to assemble, and we're going to use a joint, and we're going to pick that same location, but this time we're going to pick the side of the parallel because we want to go to an edge intersection on this. So we're going to do the intersection of the small edge we have here and the small edge we have vertical. That should bring them together. And that size parallel should work fairly well for the purposes of the second side. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to set the throat at the width of our part, which should be 1 inch. Okay, so we're going to use the 1 3/8 parallel for the second op. And when we're machining it, we're going to have this mushroom top of material that will need to be removed. And we should have enough area for a 1/4 inch ball cutter to roll over the side of this and not hit the steel jaw. Okay, we have our 2 operations set up. We got the one based off model origin, the other one off stock origin, and we're going to have the vise and the orientation that we're going to start in and when we start machining. Okay, so now we're going to go to manufacture, and just to declutter the view, we're going to go to visual object visibility, and we're going to turn off joints and joint axes and joint origins. We don't want to be looking at that when we set up our setup sheets. I'm going to go ahead and minimize our panel on the side there so we have a little more view, and we're going to go to machining the top face of this. Alright, so let's go to setup. We're going to do a new setup. Use Z-axis and X plane. So we're going to pick our Z-axis is going to be the top of the stock. So our origin should snap up like this. Now we got this huge stock because it's trying to figure out what's the vise and what's the model. So let's select the model for this, which we're going to expand our model, and we're going to select the actual part, which is our model. That looks a little bit better. And then we're going to go and we're going to select the X-axis, and we're going to use a stock box point, but let's define our stock first. Go to stock, and it's going to also be from solid, and then we'll pick on the stock volume that we created. Then we'll go back and we can go to stock box point, and that'll be accurate to where we're going to locate it. We're going to put it at the bottom left corner. Again, this is so that all we got to do is adjust heights based off the parallel depths. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to post process. This part number is 7311, and we're doing op 1. So it's going to be op 1, fixture offset 1, and we just created the setup for op 1. Let's change that to op 1. And let's do an edit. I'm sorry, not an edit. Let's right click on this, and we're going to edit notes. And we're going to put in 1. Use WCS origin is back left corner of stock. Back left bottom corner of stock. Okay, so that's what we've just described down there. Okay, then we're going to do note number 2. We're going to put use 1 5/8 1 5/8 tall parallels. And note number 3 is going to be vise clamping pressure is going to be 8 foot-pounds. Okay, and then those notes will show up on your setup sheet. Okay, because we got limited room on our machines now with the 4 and 5 axis accessories, normally we would face this down in the past with a face mill. It's not a very big part, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a 1/2 inch end mill instead, and that way we don't run into over travel issues. So we're just going to do a face mill, but we're going to select from our current library, which the one as the date of this video was the 2026 Rev 0, and we're going to use the 1/2 inch end mill. Okay, and we're going to keep the default feeds and speeds here, and our geometry is going to be the top of the part, and our heights is going to be stock top, and we're going to cut to the model top. We're going to go to our pass directions. We want to go horizontal, you get a better finish that way. And pass extensions should be a little bit bigger than the diameter of the cutter. So we're going to go 2.6 just in case our stock's a little bit long. And then we're going to do a step over of 80% of the diameter of the cutter. Okay, which if we do the math, I think the number that's in there is actually big. So it's 0.5 times 0.8. Oh, it's actually small. So we can do this 0.4, but we're just going to leave it at 0.535. It'll get a little bit better finish. And we're going to use, we're not going to do multiple depths in this case, we're just going to go right to it. Okay, we're going to linking tab, and we're going to take the vertical lead-in radius out, and other than that, it's going to be default. We're going to hit OK. And we should get, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 laps back and forth on the part. Okay, and that should give us a pretty good finish, and not quite as good as a face mill, but It'll still be a pretty good finish. Alright, the next operation is we're going to rough away material on the outside. Now we could use adaptive clearing. This is a fairly shallow shape and we have some big ball cutters we can use. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm just going to go ahead and do a contour around this. So we're going to go 2D contour, and we're going to still use the 1/2 inch end mill. We're going to go to geometry, and what we need to do is turn the stock off for this, and we can select the profile here, or we can go to what's called silhouette, and that'll give us the silhouette. And we get these different options here. We just want the outside profile. We don't want to cut the inside of that hole with this operation. Okay, we're going to go to heights, and we gotta hit OK. Then we're going to go to heights. Now our depths is, it says selected contour, so what that was going to do is it's only going to cut to the very top of the part because that's where it's measuring its silhouette. What we want to do is set our depth, and we're going to use selection, and we're going to select the point where it's the flat ends, and we should be able to cut all the way down to there with not much trouble. Alright, we're going to go a little bit past -0.01 just to make sure that we're going past tangency. Okay, so 10,000ths deeper. And we're going to go to passes. We're going to use wear compensation. Okay, we're going to go down here and we're going to do a roughing pass. Our maximum step over is going to be 0.35, the same as what we did on the top. We might have to do 2 step overs. Right now it's defaulting to 1, but if we wrap around this corner and we're getting full engagement, I think we better bump it up to 2. Okay, we're going to do multiple depths. Our depth's going to be 0.25. We're going to go about half a diameter in depth. We're not grabbing onto a whole lot with this vise, and we don't really need a finishing step down for this, so we'll leave that alone. And we're going to finish only at final depth, and we're going to rough that final depth. We're going to use even step downs. And stock to leave, we're not going to leave any stock because we do want that to be a finished edge. We will turn on smoothing because we have a radius that's going around. And we could try feed optimization, but it generally doesn't do anything on exterior shapes. It's going to be when it's approaching the inside corner. Okay, our finishing step over right now is 50,000ths. I don't generally take that much off because of cutter flex. So I'm going to put in 0.02, so we're taking a little bit less off. Alright, let's take a look at what we got. Okay. So it looks like we probably don't need the extra pass around the outside. So let's do that. Let's get rid of that, and we're going to go edit. Okay, we're going to do 1 pass around the outside. Go to the linking tab. Horizontal lead-in radius is fine. Lead-in sweep angle is fine. Linear lead-in distance is fine. We are not going to do a vertical lead-in. And then we want to keep the tool down. We'll hit OK. Looks like we're leading in on this corner edge over here. That's okay, but it's behind the part, so you can't really see what's going on. So we're going to go back and go edit, and we're going to move the lead-in position. Okay, we're going to do preferred lead-in position. I'm going to put it here. Okay, so now we lead in the front. We can see what's going on. It's going to be doing its move in against the fixed jaw of the vise. Then it'll go around the corner. Alright, pretty good. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next part,